Good evening. Our main story is the deepening crisis surrounding the spread of coronavirus. In one of the latest developments, a hotel in Tenerife in Spain's Canary Islands has been locked down after a visiting Italian doctor tested positive. And here in the UK, travellers who visited northern Italy have been told that they must self-isolate if they develop flu-like symptoms. The vast majority of cases still remain in China, but there are significant clusters elsewhere. There are more than 77,000 cases on the Chinese mainland and more than 2,600 people have died there. South Korea has seen a sharp rise in cases. Almost 1,000 have been infected and 10 people have died there so far. Iran is struggling to contain its outbreak with almost 100 cases, among them the Deputy Health Minister, while in Italy more than 320 have been infected and 11 have died there so far. We start tonight with our correspondent Mark Lowen and the latest on that situation in Tenerife.
From island haven to health scare lockdown, Italy's coronavirus outbreak has spread to Tenerife. The Costa Adige Palace Hotel now shut off after an Italian guest, a doctor, tested positive. They woke up to this, ordered to stay put. Hundreds stuck inside.
We just got to stay in the hotel. We can't leave the hotel. We can walk around the grounds, sit on the sun lounges, but there's a cordon around the hotel with the police.
In Italy itself, cases are still rising. It's Europe's worst affected country, and in Milan, they're not taking any chances. Pharmacies across the city have the same sign. We've run out of masks and sanitizing gel. Among the places closed, La Scala Opera has been silenced, a blow for Alan and Mary Spencer, who came from Somerset to enjoy a Verdi classic.
Well, we were disappointed because we had made plans to visit so many places in Milan for the first time, and all of them are closed.
Under new British government rules, if they show symptoms after going home, they'd have to self-isolate for 2 weeks.
We feel we're most at threat perhaps during our return journey, when we will be in contact with other people travelling by train and by plane. Until then, we feel comfortable and safe here.
One of Italy's key concerns now is the economic impact of the virus. With sites closed, tourists cancelling and businesses suffering, there's talk of it tipping into recession. And until they can stem the outbreak, the EU's third largest economy will feel the shock. Prime people-watching spots are virtually people-free. Cafes count their losses. Gabriele Gerosa says it's the worst he's seen in years. Milan is suffering a psychosis. People are scared and aren't going out. A world of easy travel has met a virus that knows no borders. Italy's battle is proving heavier than most, but the front line of the fight keeps moving. Mark Lowen, BBC News, Milan.
Well, in Iran, as we mentioned earlier, the Deputy Health Minister, who had denied that his country had a problem with the virus, has now said that he's tested positive for coronavirus, and it prompted an allegation from the Trump administration that the Iranians are covering up the full extent of the outbreak in that country. Our correspondent Rana Rahimpour from BBC Persian has the latest details.
Here in Tehran, the authorities spray disinfectant outside the home of a man who has died from the coronavirus. Officially, 16 people have died and 95 are infected. But many believe the real figures to be far higher. On Monday, Iran's Deputy Health Minister, here on the left, publicly denied a cover-up, while he himself looked unwell. 24 hours later, he took to Twitter to reveal he'd been diagnosed with the virus.
I would like to inform you that I also have got corona. I had fever from yesterday. My primary test results came up positive last night, and since then I have isolated myself.
In the capital Tehran, shoppers have been panic buying. Pharmacies are overcrowded and low on stock. This chemist admits they're short of supplies. So far, at least 7 countries in the region have reported confirmed cases. All can be traced back to Iran. Suffering from economic sanctions and mismanagement, the country is ill-equipped to cope. And its refusal to impose a mass lockdown, like in Italy and China, will fuel the crisis. Rana Rahimpour, BBC News.
And here in the UK, children returning from half-term holidays in northern Italy have been sent home from several schools to try to prevent the spread of the virus. It follows the government's updated advice to travellers from Italy. People returning from 11 quarantine towns in the northern regions of Lombardy and Veneto must now self-isolate at home for 14 days, even if they are well. And those who've travelled elsewhere in northern Italy, that's the area north of the city of Pisa, must do the same, but only if they develop symptoms. And in another development this evening, the Irish Health Minister has said that the forthcoming rugby international in the Six Nations between Ireland and Italy should not go ahead. Our medical correspondent Fergus Walsh has more details.
This morning, myself and 90 other students from my school have been sent home to be self-isolated.
Beth Ann's school in Nantwich, Cheshire should be teeming with activity, but its entire sixth form has been closed after students return from a skiing trip in Italy, which also impacts parents.
I understand that this is a precautionary measure and the school have to act upon information given to them and guidance from the government.
But is it an overreaction? This private school, another with a skiing trip, has shut completely for the rest of the week.
Well, obviously every school has to make choices based on the particular situations they find themselves in, but we are not advising as a blanket policy that schools should be closing based on people having come back from Italy.
If you're told to self-isolate, that means staying at home, not going to work, school or other public places. You shouldn't have any visitors. If you live on your own, you can order shopping online or get friends to help, but they should leave it on the doorstep. If you live with others, then you need to stay in a well-ventilated bedroom with the door shut. If you have to share a bathroom, then use it after everyone else. Don't share towels and toiletries. Your waste should be double bagged. If you test positive, it'll be separately disposed of. Remember, the coronavirus causes a mild illness for 4 out of 5 people. Self-isolating will help protect older people and those with underlying health problems from getting infected. Travellers returning from northern Italy are being advised they only need to self-isolate if they develop flu-like symptoms or they've been in one of the quarantine areas. It really can slow disease spread.
By isolating those with symptoms in healthcare settings, tracing their contacts, getting those to self-isolate until we determined that. So that led to the control of the SARS epidemic. So we're still uncertain if those will be sufficient to fully contain the pathogen that we see now, but it certainly has a great potential.
Nearly 7,000 people have been tested for coronavirus in the UK. Just 13 have been positive. For now, it seems the virus has yet to get a firm foothold here. Fergus, Walsh, BBC News.